Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Good to see you. We'll leave the porch light on for anybody who is on their way here. And I invite us just to let go of any thought. I know have it that it takes a certain number of us to make it really worthwhile to be here. And just two of us is enough. And we're way beyond that, right? So I do like to say, welcome to our Pathwork village, and that's something real here, right? Like, the village takes every person. Everybody's got something they do, even if they're just the pencil sharpener. And that matters. So thank you for helping make it happen. So let's go right into it and just take a moment and move around on the chair and get all the wiggles out. Just let all the wiggles. And feel your body coming to rest like a frog on a lily pad, like a dragonfly on a branch. Just let whatever natural stillness start to fill you up as life breathes you here without your even thinking about it. Let life breathe you in, life breathe you out. And now visualize yourself in a favorite place in nature somewhere that you love. And with the power of active imagination, just let yourself really land here in this spot. And hear this sentence: a great stream of divine strength and blessings permeates you and flows around you as a powerful, peaceful, gentle force. Permeates you and flows around you as a powerful, peaceful, gentle force. Feel this energy right now, like a just right sun on a not too hot day. Feel it on your skin, gently warming any part of you that feels cold, stiff, numb. Notice the more you allow yourself to feel it, the better it is. Feel it like the pleasure current it is, calmly filling any place you allow to open. Feel it like a creative current, a healing flow, an infusion of wisdom. It is all these things. Be aware of this force. Attune yourself to it. Ask for its help, for a deeper understanding than ever before. the next step forward on this path of finding ourselves. Consciously breathe it in. And as you do, feel the ingoing breath already meeting this energy inside you. It permeates every particle of your being on every level: physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Feel the blissful. It's right here, right now. Nothing to do to get it. As you allow it more and more, it's enlivening and at the same time, peaceful. So with this energy close by, there's a few things I want to share from the guide. That this is what is most real. And any moments where we often find ourselves out of touch with this is the great illusion. But there's nothing to do but be willing to allow, to feel our natural desire for aliveness and pleasure. This is wholeness right here and now, anytime we say yes. And this is the evolutionary force itself, the reality in all that lives and breathes. It permeates every particle of existence, including deep down in our own psyche, whether or not we're aware of it, it's already there. This force is not only in you, it is you. Where you doubt it, distrust it, block it, we become divided against ourselves. The guide tells us that the whole plan of evolution is uniting individual consciousness. Only in this way can separateness be eliminated. And union as some kind of mental process or with some vague God is not really union. Only the actual contact of one individual with another creates true inner union. From this place, I just invite us just to look at the faces on the screen. Really seeing each person here as a moment of real contact at this level, right? Those of us that are really struggling with the world, the awful condition it's in, wondering what to do. What can we possibly do? So many things seem to be blowing up all around us on every level, right? Now, the guide is telling us that making real contact with another human being is the paradigm shift. Is saying yes to the evolutionary force that knows how to integrate all these things that seem to be disasters. It can sound so vague, yet it's so simple and personal and real. And it's pleasure itself. Like when I'm looking at you, I'm smiling, I'm feeling pleasure. And it's coming from that contact, saying yes to contact. Saying yes to contact to each other, that's where it all starts. From there, we just say yes to life itself. So I'd like to invite us to do our usual go around, say your name, where you are, and take a moment or two to share where you are right now. And this time as you speak, just notice if you can feel that pull towards contact here, and whatever any inhibition is, just to feel them both together and notice them.
I can check in. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Beth.
So this feels very vulnerable to say, but you know, this practice is like my favorite thing in the world. Mm-hmm. You know, soul gazing or whatever you call it, and like all the different times in my life, you know, when I've been invited to do that in different places and circles, like something, you know, like something inside of me just, you know, like dances for joy, you know, and and I've just been more and more aware. I've been reading a really good book on trauma and like really practicing, really noticing like every moment of every day, like, am I present? Like, am I present in my higher self, or am I sleeping? Am I in some old story? Am I in some illusion, you know? And it's just really incredible, you know. And I was just on another call and we were creating intentions for Samhain, for the holiday, and you know, and I was letting go of that sleepfulness and choosing, you know, presence and being fully awake. So I think that's the most important thing. And if I could just take one more minute, I know this is a bit of a long check-in, but it's such a potent day. It's just, I mean, it's Halloween. And I wasn't with you last month because I was on my honeymoon. So I just got married, which is so wonderful. And at the same time, Halloween is the anniversary of the death of my last partner. He actually died on Halloween, which he was a very witty guy. I always thought that was a very like good choice of a day to die, you know, and like I always remember his wonderful wit, you know, on Halloween. And but today is 10 years since he passed, and that just, you know, every year it becomes less of a big deal, but for some reason, you know, 10 years feels like today's a real marker for me. So it's like the letting go of the past and the welcoming in the new relationship. So I just feel full of all of that. And it's really nice to share it with you.
Welcome, Beth.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The book? What was the name of the book? Somebody asked. I'm not sure.
The book on trauma.
Oh, book on trauma. See, I went to sleep already. It's Janina Fisher's book, and the title, it's something really obvious, like healing the fragmented self.
Okay.
Something trauma. Yeah. Okay. Janina Fisher. Really good. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
I can go. Thank you, Beth. My name is Kay. I'm in Chapel Hill today, and it is a beautiful sunny day, which is a blessing. In this moment, I am filled with so much. I'm actually being surrounded by rainbows, which if you knew me, you would know that that is my email address. I have a sun catcher that a friend gave me on my window, and I'd had it up there for a while, and it just started going at 11:11, which has meant a lot to me for about 40 years. So I'm just feeling really blessed in this moment and so full of gratitude and love for being here. Yesterday was the first day that I actually had a day where I had no agenda. I wasn't moving. I wasn't cleaning. I wasn't sick. For those of you who don't know, I've been dealing with mold toxicity for about 14 months. And I just feel blessed. And I am very grateful to be here. Brian, the introduction was phenomenal. That's exactly where I want to go. Beth, that's exactly where I want to go. This is where I want to move my life to. I'm done.
Thank you, Kay. Rainbows and all.
I can go. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
I really missed being with you last month. I forgot. I had it on my calendar and I forgot. And I was like, oh no. I am feeling like I'm busy going from one thing to the other. So I feel like I'm not stopping and pausing in silence and with my breath as much as like, okay, there's this guilt, you know, I should, but life is feeling full and rich. And I think my practice now is body work. I'm actually in a physical rehabilitation program. In that I am going to PT and preparing emotionally and physically for going back to California to spend time with my grandson, who when I get there in December will be 11 months old. And so he's the inspiration for this physical rehabilitation, because it was really physically difficult last time in terms of my energy and stamina, and literally had trouble changing diapers. And my daughter mentioned it recently, and you know, she's absolutely right. So I am madly getting my body more in shape. So that's what I'm up to. and feeling really good, feeling like empowered, feeling like I can really age with vitality. And that feels really good. Like I want to be the grandma who at 80 is still doing fun things, right? So that's a big part of my mental state. And I'm also thinking about, you know, who I am professionally with this, and sort of where I want to sort of close out some things, and what am I going to have space for emotionally and time wise. And so that's kind of mainly what's going on with me. My husband and I last night did go to the film festival and saw an amazing documentary about the monuments coming down in Richmond, Virginia. It's just one of the most amazing documentaries. It's on PBS. I really recommend that you see it. It's how the monuments came down, and it's just such a powerful story of not only Richmond, but just the whole story. So I'm filled with feelings about that in my own evolution of getting it at a deeper level. So thank you for being here and being able, being co partners and co-regulators in being present and to ourselves in life.
Thank you, Chris, especially for the which is really where the real power is here together. Witness each other. Thank you. Let it be real. You know what? Our own hero's journey. That's what we're doing with each other. Letting it be significant, no matter how trivial the details may appear to our idealized self. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Kathy from Pittsburgh. It's pretty dreary here. I'm glad to be brightened in my spirit with you. We're coming into our dreary days in Pittsburgh. We have a lot of them. So something like this is bright. Well, I was trying to consider in a few words where I was, and I think mainly what's happening for me is that, you know, I'm in my last year of supervision for helpership here. And so this has been like 7 years of being together here, and close to that, I think, or 6. So with this particular group, and I did my transformation program down at Seven Oaks. So that's why I sit here today, is that's heartfelt for me. So I have both of these. And our theme for this last supervision is stepping up. So I had a reaction to that, as I usually do about most things, about, you know, stepping in, stepping up. What do you want me to do now? You know, that part of me. And so, but, you know, what's true, I don't know, I think it's probably true for everybody here, is that, you know, it's not enough to be sitting in my reaction. So the stepping up for me has really been, stepping inside me. That was the stepping up that I found. And that was that I found some places in me recently that I've not noticed before, that I've not wanted to see before, and that really I think as a helper, I need to look into. And they're just more about childhood pain, you know. It's like the spiral we all talk about. This is the place in the spiral where I am. And I just had to get a new helper because my helper, Carolyn's no longer able to be a helper. And so I had my first session with my new helper. And so we're taking that journey into some pretty painful places that I need to open up, because they're cold inside of me. I'm cold there in those places, and I'm starting to see it. So I'm so happy to be with you, because I know you know. And so it's good to see you.
Welcome, Kathy.
Feels like a place to start. I'm Janelle. I'm in Silver Spring, Maryland. I too have been, I go through periods where I feel open-hearted and life is good, and then something will come along and slam me that this a total surprise. And I think what came in 2 different ways, which I'll not go into, but I was really hit with a massive shame attack. Massive. I mean, it was like, it really undid me. So I'm reading a book now, the Wild Edge of Sorrow, dealing with grief. Pardon? Oh, that doesn't. And I just started yesterday, and the first 2 chapters, and shame is already coming up. It's in the reading. It's like, I realize there is something that I have not hit yet that I need to look at. So I'm not looking forward to it in one way, but I'm really hopeful as I go through the book that it's going to lead me even deeper than I've been before. So happy to be here this morning. Actually, it's interesting. You were not on my agenda at all. And I was working around the house, and about 10 of 11, I thought, there's something I was supposed to be doing, but I couldn't figure out what it was. And so I came on. I didn't even turn my video on because I didn't feel like it was fully wanting to be present. So I'm finally here. So thank you.
Great to have you, Janelle. Janelle is a teacher of mine in the transformation program. And it just is really meaningful to be here together. You too, Kathy. Wow. So I just feel us both here with you, Janelle. Like, you helped us land on this branch here with you. Thank you.
I'll check in. I'm Bill Prindle, still calling in from Charlottesville, although there was a time I was in Silver Spring for 25 some years, including the years that we actually had a Pathwork Center in Silver Spring. I don't know if anyone remembers that, but Brian, your words are so clear and so resonant. I don't know how to describe it, but you really, they're evocative for me. So 2 words that were evocative, I think you were quoting the desire for aliveness and pleasure. And I for a long time, I've been working with this image that latched onto me when I was a child, that the universe is dead and joyless. That wasn't even verbal for a long time. I've worked with it in different ways, but I'm still kind of working with that fundamental. So just to have it said like right up front, oh, the desire for aliveness and pleasure is our essential nature. Like, oh, it's just such a, it's sort of just like you tap a little invisible layer of glass and it just shatters. So those words were really helpful. I've been feeling physically kind of draggy, and spiritually, I'd say a little draggy the last, I don't know, couple of months maybe. And I'm getting close to the point of retirement from my day job, and then bringing up fundamentals like, so where really is my aliveness and my pleasure if it's not being structured for me by somebody I work for? Gee, what a thought. For some reason, maybe it's connected. My wife and I we bought a 30-year-old house this year, and we're pretty much rebuilding it. And I've learned in my Jungian ways to experience images of house as images of self. So I'm taking that as a rebuilding of self. And guess what? It can keep you up at night. For no particular reason, because there's nothing I can actually do at that moment. We all know what that's like, rehearsing and rehashing at 4 or 5 a.m. But I do feel that it's like coming to a well to be in this circle, just, oh, aliveness, pleasure, connecting with an individual is the essence of unifying your consciousness. What? These simple reminders are just so, they just kind of resonate with me at a deep level. So thanks for creating this circle. It's good to be here.
Thank you for co-creating it, Bill. Welcome.
I'll put in my nickel.
I'd like to check in. Are you done, Bill? My name is Alex, and I live in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And I'm really struggling these days. I have been completely sucked into a family drama that, I know it's not real. I know it's at the, the physical level, but it doesn't spare me the angst of it all. So that's just really taking a lot of my joy. And it's very lonely in this family drama because there aren't people that I can have this kind of connection with. And I am, and hear this understanding that I know what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is I want to control it. I am going to control it, and I will make it come out the way I want it to. And that's kind of the energy that I have in this, because I'm so self-righteous and convinced that I'm right. So that's painful. I don't know what that means, Brian. Does that mean?
Means I'm feeling my own version of this. I'm really here with you with my own version.
Thank you, because I'm embarrassed to say that, because I know I don't even wait for people to tell me, oh, you can't control it. Of course I know that, but I am going to try.
So can we pause here for a moment, Alex? And just invite us, any one of us that really feels it close by. I'm going to control this. Of course I'm going to. This is it, man. I'm controlling this.
So thank you for, thank you all for doing the work that you've done that allows you to understand this. Because it helps me not feel alone, so alone. So the second piece of my check-in is that I'm also trying to phase out of my work, my job, and it's not really my job, my adult life's passion and vocation and calling, and I don't know how. It's because of the nature of the work as a psychotherapist in a private practice. There's no ritual. There's no like, oh, you're 65 now, you have to retire, and the office says, yeah, we loved having you, but bye-bye. I have to make it happen. And I don't know how. I don't know how to begin ending a relationship with 50 people. I don't see 50 people all at one time, but probably somewhere in the month, the year. So I'm overwhelmed. I'm a little overwhelmed with both, because the one is making it hard for me to be centered and be true and be, to be honest in my work about where I am and what I need to do for my own self-care. And I'd like to leave in my own name and not with a gun to my head. And what I mean by that is I don't want illness to make it, you know, like, well, of course, I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And so I'm starting to have that feeling in my body that I need not to be working the way I'm working. So I'm just here today to show up as much as I can and to take in as much as I can and find compassion for myself and for my family who's doing it completely wrong. Thank you.
Yeah.
I have to go now. Thank you, Alex. I just, I love you, Alex. It's really great to be here. I was out last month, so it's really great to be back. The words at the beginning, Brian, particularly around only in community or in communion with another soul. I think for me, I'm getting that on a much more deeper level than I ever have. I find myself very attuned to an energy that feels like it's wants me in communion with another. Just say it that way. It's getting to the point where it's like, yeah, that's, you know, in this body, in this life, who I am, that seems to be the most important thing. Yeah, it happens in the present. I can certainly think about it and plan it and obsess about it, but ultimately it happens in the moment. And, you know, like we're all here together. You know, I feel most of the time I'm very aware of the denseness of what it is to be Dan. By the way, I'm in Richmond, Virginia. And I used to kind of, well, I still do sometimes, but I have a great aversion to it. When I become aware of it, it's like, ew. It's like so much, this judgmental part of me sees it as so much sludge and mud to wade through. But I am aware of this, I'm not sure what to call it, consciousness, this substance, this stuff that moves through the entire universe, moves through me, mingles right next to all those traumatized little cells in my body, moves in and out in the present around what is memory and old stuff, and simply wants it to know it's okay. That to be open to it is what's right. And to let that be in myself full enough where it's like, yeah, I'm a totally fucked up human being, but I still want to go over and be with this other person, because the bigger part of me is the part that can forgive that in myself and forgive it in others and actually help others by being open to them and all their difficulties and troubles. And that somehow, although that's very real, it doesn't hold a match to this greater, whatever it is, substance, this stream consciousness. And so I find myself most oftentimes nowadays trying to find a way to open that channel between myself and another. And I know I'm doing the work when I feel the intensity, the intensity of it. When my pain body gets kind of riled up around it. It's like, oh, it's time to breathe. It's time to take yourself just as you are before another person and hope and expect the same. So I think that's a pretty good place to be, notwithstanding. So I'm glad to really be here, and I'm glad to see and to connect with each of you in your little box. And that's my share. Thanks.
I love you, Dan. Thank you for letting me in.
May I? Hi, my name is Iracema. I am in Belo Horizonte, Brazil, and it's so good to me. I don't know if you can understand my English.
Yes.
I speak Portuguese, and it's so good to me to be here with this group. I'm helper for more than 10 years, and like Alex, I have very big problems with my original family, and it's so good to feel in this group that I'm not alone. Oh, it's wonderful. And I do a lot of meditation, a special meditation that's called Crystal Liquid. Gilda Vasconcelos, I don't know if you know her. She was my helper 20 years ago, and she's doing this work. It's wonderful. And I'm here in a point that, as it said here, to know in my reactions what really belongs to me, what belongs to my inner self, and what does not belong to me. And I have this reaction because of other people that I admire, because I learned this is the correct way to do things. And in this disease, I love to be alone, but I see that people are even more alone, and I feel I would like to be near people, but I'm afraid and I'm lazy to have to deal with other people. Maybe it's a problem. I'm not alone. Thank you very much. So I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for speaking up. You're so welcome to be here. Is everybody gone already besides me? I'd like to say something in general before I share, because it will inform what I'm going to share personally, which is this teaching around the life force, the pleasure principle, the cosmic pull, that life and pleasure are one, that when we're not feeling pleasure, it's not because we don't have a bowl of ice cream or somebody isn't doing something our way. It's because we're resisting this cosmic pull. So what part of us resists this cosmic pull? Well, of course, we have a wounded part from life that doesn't trust, that's afraid of opening up, right? And many of us, including myself, have done years and years and years of work on these wounds, and often still have this feeling like, will I ever really be free of these? You know, just the weary nature of working on our wounds over and over again. So in lecture 149, Cosmic Pull to Union, Frustration, the guide is offering something that just really opened my eyes up. After 28 years in the pathwork, it's like, wow, which is, there's a part of our resistance to union, to the cosmic pull, to the life force that has nothing to do with our wounding. It's not any kind of flaw in us. It's a natural product of individual consciousness. I love the no fault approach to this, because I'm very quick to blame myself for anything that doesn't work in my life. And that's actually, as I sit with it, the part that gets most weary. So this view that it's just part of being a human, I don't want to, I want to resist what I can't understand, can't see, can't feel, the life force, the cosmic pull, the pleasure principle. It's very helpful. It's like washes me clean of all my personal history. And now I'm left just facing my real self and this piece of my individual consciousness with some compassion and caring and understanding, and really wanting to help this part of me just surrender to pleasure. And also in 149, the guide makes it very clear, like, this is pleasure. The life force is pleasure. We can have as much pleasure as we want anytime that we want. Yet from this place of our wounding, which many of us have done a lot of work on, we can arrive at this place of just being with this individual consciousness that says, no, I'm not going to let go. Because this individual consciousness is afraid of losing itself. If I surrender to the vastness, if I just go to with the flow, I won't be able to assert my way, right? I won't get what I want. And of course, the irony is, when we do let go, we get everything we truly desire, right? Because just what the guide is saying here is that just in the letting go is when the pleasure comes in, regardless of what is happening on the outside. So I have a flat tire in the pouring rain. I can tell you where I go, I become a victim. I'm angry at life. I'm angry at myself. I knew that tire needed some attention, but I didn't, right? So now it's raining inside the car as well as outside the car. Right? So you notice I'm resisting by blaming myself and blaming life. And just coming to this place of like, okay, I'm having a flat tire in the rain. Here I am, right? Just letting it be. The guide is saying, I can actually be happy right now. I don't have to wait until the whole ordeal is over, right? It's really fascinating. And the other piece here is that, you know, this saying yes to connection, to the cosmic pull that really wants us, pull us towards another human being, right? It's really part of the evolutionary plan. It is the paradigm shift. We've all been wondering, when is it going to come? We're so desperate for it. That when one human being connects with another, two things happen. Each one changes, and they create a field together that radiates out into the whole, right? So to consider for a moment, like this is something we can really do to make a difference in the world, much more than my struggle with the words can really express right now. So here's my sharing. You know, some of you know that I have a metastatic cancer, and I don't talk about it often because often it creates distance, like, oh, I'm so sorry, right? Well, please hear that for me, this is just my version of what I'm going through. Alex, you have your version. Dan, you have yours. You know, we're all right up to here with life, right? That's the nature of being a spiritual being in a human body. So the good news is that, you know, I'm not suffering a lot. I don't have much pain. Mostly what I have is just fatigue, torpor, I can't move. And that's also the bad news, because I feel like this decline is taking a long time. Let's just get it over with one way or the other. This is really just being tired and out of it is really tiring. Yet what's happening on a deeper level is I feel like Scrooge in Charles Dickens' The Christmas Carol, which is the ghosts really come around in remarkable ways, especially the ghost of the past. You know, I'm lying there in bed, and I'm right in the middle of a scene 30 years ago where I can't bear to look at who this man Brian is and how he's behaving, you know, the primitiveness of his reactivity, how he's hurting the very people he wants to love, you know, how he's blocking the very love he's desperate for at the same time. And, you know, I feel the part of me wants to go into attacking myself, into despair. Yet that's like Alex, you said some version of that's not really the truth, right? It's just what we're insisting on hanging on to. The outer story and trying to find some traction, whether we're blaming ourselves or blaming someone else, it's the same thing. So that to bring it down to where we are today, of course, what this has been going on for a while with the ghosts coming, rattling their chains. And from other parts of this work that we do, the Pathwork, I know just to accept it. Yeah, this really is where this guy was. Right? Right. Yet I have a new lens for it now, that really what I'm doing is just saying yes to this life force, this cosmic pull that's permeating every particle of existence, including myself now, including this Brian from 30 years ago, right? And somehow in that saying yes to that, just like that, I accept. I start to feel pleasure, actual pleasure. It's really remarkable. I really get it now. The guide has talked about bliss and pleasure supreme since 1993 when I washed up at Seven Oaks, and my attitude has been, yeah, for other people, but not for me, right? So I really had this belief I had to be good in order to feel pleasure. And yet I really get it now that just surrendering to things as they are, the moment I do that, I'm part of the life stream now. I'm losing some of my over-focused identity on being Brian. And now I'm just a piece in a stained glass window. Right? Like Remy says, I'm a drop in the ocean, and I'm also the ocean in the drop. Right? So all of this can sound pretty theoretical, metaphysical, abstract. And that's where the magic of contacting with somebody comes in, right? Like there's an energy between me and you, between you and me. So when I feel that impulse to contact someone, which the guide says, this is how the cosmic pull appears in us. It's like, hey, Nora, welcome. Give Nora a moment here to come in from Holland. Welcome, Nora. I lost where I was, and that's a good thing. So let's just come back to being together. Oh yes, the impulse. I have this impulse. I want to call Dan. I just want to connect with Dan. And I notice my mind goes, not now, later. I don't want to. I'm not in a good mood. I don't care about anybody right now. Forget Dan. I could look at that as just my own wounding, which it is, right? I'm kind of sulking in my bitterness towards life, right? Yet to really get to the bottom of it right away, if I just can look at it like, that's just my individual consciousness. If I call Dan, I'm going to give something up of me, right? And actually, what the invitation is, when I connect with Dan, I actually get more of me, more of an experience, not less, of my individual being, right? So I want to pause now and Nora, is there anything you want to say just to bring yourself here? Like, you know, we usually do your name and where you are and just what you're feeling right now, just to hear yourself.
Okay, I'm Nora from Belgium. It's 5 o'clock in the evening, and I'm happy to be here. I'm a little anxious because I always have this part of me that's always still afraid of the we to join these groups, but I'm here and I'm happy to be here.
Welcome, Nora. And thank you for reminding me you're in Belgium, not Holland.
Doesn't matter, it's close.
Close, it is close. Yeah. Okay, so what I'd like to do is have an inspiring around what we've been holding, especially any doubt or skepticism. Let's welcome that as being real, right? We're not here just to all agree. We're here to be real. Being real is better than being good, right? And
So Brian, you mentioned being good, and I have to repeat the Mary Oliver lines. You
Yeah.
do not have to be good. You do not have to walk through the desert for 100 miles on your knees repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. So.
hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Apparently she first read that in Massachusetts and the whole place almost burst into flames. So.
But I just want to put in that I didn't say this before because I didn't think about it, but the first time the Suncatcher started a week or so ago was after I prayed to Source for a sign. And I took that as a sign that because I was asking to give me a sign that I am in connection with Source. And it just miraculously or all of a sudden started happening. And I don't know what's going on with what you're sharing, Brian, but it started earlier today, as I said, at 11:11 than it's ever started. It's usually in the afternoon at like around 1 or 2. And it stopped for a while and then it started again as soon as you started sharing this. So I'm all in on this. I want more of this. And I'm in with that.
Welcome your appetite, Kay. You know, we live in a culture and also under the thumb of a religious model in various religions that consider pleasure to be something to be suspicious of. Right? If you get too much of it, you'll become an addict. So
Yeah, and Brian, I think you referred earlier, maybe I'm just remembering it, like I grew up thinking pleasure was something you were allowed after you did something you were supposed to do.
Right.
Obligation followed by, gratification. That was it. Yeah, the idea that what pleasure is the first thing. My room would burst into flames if I allowed that in.
Right.
And I have a belief that if I have pleasure, I have to pay for it. That there will be pain that is much more intense than the pleasure ever thought about being. That's a belief I would love to let go of.
I just want to say that I just hearing you all, I have this sense of pleasure as sort of, if I'm in the sandbox having too good of a time, a semi-tractor trailer is going to come barreling, through the yard and, knock me for a loop. I think that's the belief I have.
You will be smited. Yes.
A couple things come to mind for me about this theme. One is about traditional Christianity, and all of us have been affected by that, whether we grew up with it or not. And someone who grew up with the fundamentals version, it's big. There was a time when I read a book. It's been a number of years ago, and I can't pull the name of it in my mind, but it's a Unitarian minister, ministers who traced the history pre-Christian, where pleasure, the symbols were about pleasure. And then somehow the understanding of Jesus got turned into suffering and the cross, and then the symbols changed. So it's just interesting historically that there was a shift. And the other part is evolution. Our brains that are wired physically, our brain is physically wired to focus on the negative. And I like to, I think of it and I talk about it as this is a muscle we have to grow, literally like a muscle, like going to the gym, we have to practice allowing little bits of pleasure. And, you know, it's okay not to be overwhelmed, you know, like maybe we can only tolerate a little bit at a time and that's okay, but practice it and maybe we can expand it. Thinking of it like that is is helpful for me.
Thank you, Chris.
So one of the ways that my mind gets in the way is, I guess, I think of pleasure as like a childish, silly thing, you know, and like some of my wounding is around, you know, being raised female and the youngest in my family. And so I have this sort of heavy, like not taken serious, you know, internalized, not taken seriously, you know, and I think, you know, somebody, it might have been Bill, was saying, you know, pleasure is something that you get after the serious stuff. You know, you eat your veggies and you get dessert, or you work hard, you get to play or rest, or, you know, and Chris, what you were just saying was helpful for me too, because it helps me to remember the universality, like whatever the distortions or the fear, or the changing of the symbols, it's all of us together, you know, like that there's collective fear, you know, that distorts the teaching of Jesus, that distorts all of the original, you know, it distorts everything. And so we're all kind of doing it to each other, you know, or perceiving it, you know, I hope you know what I mean, you know. And yeah, I had this little burst like a little while ago. I was sitting here listening to people and I had this sense of like the more I get to, you know, when I know people, I feel like, oh, they know me in all my limitedness. They know me in those distorted beliefs. So maybe they think I'm childish or silly or, you know, whatever the messages are. And I just had this like, it's so hard to put words to it, because I don't know if it's because this is more anonymous or I don't know you well, but it's like, or just that every day or every minute is a fresh opportunity to be in reality, to be who I really am, you know. And it's like here right now, these people, you know, like, I don't know, I just had this sort of like breaking through the clouds of like, I get to be my real self, you know. But it isn't, it's the illusion that thinks it's just because you don't know me yet. That's not it. But maybe there's something about the commitment here too, that we are collectively committed to truth, to a higher truth. Yeah.
And not only giving ourselves permission, but encouraging ourselves and each other.
Yeah.
To be
Yeah.
in that deeper reality than what appears around us, you know.
This is the good part of the we, Nora. Oh.
Kathy.
You know, I'm just piggyback on both of you. I think that you know, coming back to some childhood places that I wasn't able or willing to know or to feel. Is hard in a way, but because I'm a path worker, because I practiced the path for a long time, I also know, I also really know, and I also feel some excitement because I know how, I don't know how this has held me back. I can't say I know that, but I know I can't go to my fullest real self without it. And when I look in the world today and I see, and in my family and just everywhere around me that isn't pathwork or some form of spiritual growth, people don't have the optimism that I have, even when I'm in pain. They don't have a way to, hope and know that, hey, this, I'm being guided here. I just need to be connected with it. My pain is that I'm not connected with the guidance.
Amen. Right.
And so, but I walk every day like that, I'm a rascal, I'm a fighter, and, I do a lot of things. But the fact is, while I'm sitting here, I think our time together is elevating me like it would, because of what we do and who we are and everybody here has talked about how, where they really are. And so I just wanted to add to that. That's all, to say that this place where I am is really, I'm just kind of, if I connect with my guidance, I say thank you. If I don't, I'm gonna, go to the depths of my personality and I'm gonna fight it. It's gonna hurt worse. Gonna hurt me worse. So, I think I have a choice.
Yeah.
In my best self, I have a choice.
Mhm.
So thank you for all of you for being here, to what you're contributing to me today.
Mhm. Thank you, Kathy. Yeah. Co-creation.
Mhm.
Brian, I wanted to reflect on the words you used when you were talking about your impulse to call Dan and then saying, well, no, not now, or I'll lose something. And I went to one of the nuggets that I got from being raised in a Christian tradition. And it was the sequence when Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane, he's about to be betrayed. And he tells Peter, you're gonna claim you don't even know me 3 times before the sun comes up. And Peter said, oh, no, I know, Lord, I would never. And lo and behold, oh, that guy? No. I don't know who you're talking about. And I just feel like that's the same impulse, right? It's the denial of the, that fundamental principle. And I say that because I've spent a lot of time unlearning the negative stuff that I picked up from my religious upbringing. And that one, though, still resonates, because I can pick out any number of times that I've basically done that. I've seen someone on the street or on the subway, and I just go, well, not right now. And then later I go, why did I do that? It could have been fun. Why did I do that? And for you to explain that it's not my wounding, it's fundamental. It comes with the package. It's so much easier to forgive that way, forgive myself that way. Like, oh, right. We have this impulse that says, no, don't do it. Don't do it. That was just, that's so freeing for me to be reminded, like, yeah, there is that impulse that it just comes with. So thanks for bringing that up.
So the guide is saying these impulses do keep coming up. They're gentle, they're soft, right? They're quiet, yet we keep pushing them back down like they were nothing. And actually, it's like the tide coming in. It just wants to really come in and fill us up. Yet the spiritual law is we need to say yes first, right? So when I'm convinced my no is coming from my wounding, I get discouraged because I know how serious my wounding is. I, like many of us, crawled out of a bomb crater of childhood, right? Yet if I realize it's just my individual consciousness, it's like, hey, buddy, I'm driving here. You just take a nap in the back seat, you know. We're pulling on a highway of bliss right now. The other thing that strikes me is that we're so identified with pleasure coming from certain things. Understandably so, right? Like, I have a pleasure when I'm sitting at the bank of a river on a beautiful day, just listening to the birds. Well, that's not really where the pleasure is coming from. Because I could be sitting on that same riverbank in the same conditions, preoccupied with something and oblivious to all the pleasure, right? The pleasure comes from our letting go, and often the things that we do to seek pleasure are just some ritualized form of letting go. Right? So the guide is offering us here is just the cultivation of a practice of, can I just let go right now? Okay. And to feel the pleasure directly. We still get to do all those things that we identified as bringing us pleasure, yet now we can have the pleasure independent of any situation. That where the carrot and stick approach we've all grown up in, you know, be cautious with pleasure, you only get it when you've worked for it, and so forth and so on, it's really fundamentally a distortion of reality. The pleasure is here, it's already here, in me, in you, right? And what we're doing right now is creating a field where we're just allowing ourselves to have it without having to deserve it or earn it, right? Just by showing up here, we're feeling it. So I'm curious if that phrase, the pleasure comes from saying yes to the moment, whatever the moment is, just that. It doesn't mean like I'm still not unhappy with the situation or still don't have a place that wants to change it. It's just all the pleasure that I've been seeking is right here in my saying yes to the life force, the cosmic pull, the creative principle, the pleasure principle, all at the same thing, right? Whatever this huge, gentle energy stream is, moving through every particle of my being, which, you know, the physicists, science is now agreeing this is actually the case, right? They just have other words for it. Nothing is missing, nothing needs to change. And everything can still be completely different than my previous experience.
Well, it's more than revolutionary, but that's the only word that I can come up with when you're speaking. When you're speaking this, I'm so full and I'm so expanded. And it's like, you know, it's just for my human, you know, this human person sitting here. I'm just taking as much of it as I can, but I know that's true. You know, I know how it affects me when you talk.
Mm-hmm.
I know how I'm taking it in. You know, it's so big.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, experience in this moment is it's so big. It's an expansion that any pain that exists doesn't necessarily go away or alter, except in the senses of the, say, the size of it. It seems to be small compared to this expansion that's happening, which I suppose is to put pain in its true perspective.
Yes, and I want to just really express appreciation for and just name that it is the experience of being together. It's like, I feel so different now than I did when we started. Like I was kind of in my, usual sort of space, but the act of like really experiencing the connection, it's changed my state and my experience. It's like how that one person to another person, people to people, genuine presence, how that affects us. I'm just really appreciating that experience and saying how it is the organic, the possibility of the organic shifting to us being in our truer self by virtue of simply being in each other's presence and giving attention to being present to each other is in fact a tool, important tool.
Yeah, Chris, I would only add to that in recent years, I've been feeling more of the experience of the field as a collective energy. I read some of Christopher Bache's work this year. The philosophy professor who did 20 some years of LSD. And reading his account, he began to experience the difference between his personal karmic stuff and stuff that was just in the human field. And so he started bringing that to his classroom, and he began to notice if he consciously just set the intention of creating a field for each group of people that came into the class, things would start happening differently. And there would be these collective learning and creativity currents that would just start happening. And I'm beginning to get glimmers of that. It's like, oh, right. There's a field that we're in, if we just remember. And a lot of stuff can happen there that doesn't take much, right? So,
Well, I'm really drawn to what you just said. It doesn't take much. Because the guy actually says it in 149. Actually, only a tiny effort is necessary. Because there's a self-augmenting, self-sustaining process that gets set in motion. What a relief. Like, really, I could just cry from that relief. I'm so used to doing it all by myself, trying to make my world a better place. Good Lord, it's so hard sometimes. And that tiny effort is just the willingness, right? To say, yes, okay. Yeah. This idea that there's something that will meet us, like the ocean, just lapping up around our feet. Right? Wow. You see, and part of what we're naming here in our own individual ways is we're not talking about ideas, we're talking about experience. That's really what we're all wanting. And the ideas are useful just as stepping stones to the experience.
Me, it's so easy to have pleasure. Just I have to sit down I used to put this on my ears not to let anything interfere with my thoughts. It's wonderful. Then I'm seated in an erect position
Right.
and in silence, and I can achieve a paradise inside me.
Wow, look at you.
It's wonderful. But this happens in this
Yeah.
past today. And the problem is not a problem, is to accept that why don't I act, I go to this place when I have so many problems, when I'm quarreling with my sisters. Why don't I remember this place? And it's also difficult to accept my human side that commands 99% of my life. And we have to accept that we are light, we are a ray of light, but we are also human. Although it's terrible.
I'm deeply moved by what you've shared here and radiated. The energy just pouring through you. I see the pleasure principle. I see it. I feel it. You're like a window. The sun is coming through. Yeah. So as we're getting ready to land, I want to make it practical. So you just said, Erasima, why don't I do this more often, right? Well, rather than be focused on, well, why don't I do it more often? What's wrong with me? It's just some part of me, my individual consciousness, all it knows how to do is say no to surrender. Okay, now that's out of the way. And then to feel our desire, our longing, to feel pleasure, to just let go, right? And then the cultivation of that over and over again. Right? Oh, I notice I'm uptight and tense. Before I would think, what do I need to do? Now, as you've just said, I'm going to put in my earplugs and just, whew, wow. You know, it's interesting. People always say, well, that sounds so simple. Yet it's the simple things that are the hardest to do, right? We're drawn to the complicated, and then we get lost in the complicated. So really inviting each other here to have a cultivation of this practice after we leave here of just saying yes and feeling the pleasure of letting go. Again, as soon as we let go, there's pleasure. As much as you want. Self-sustaining. I love that word, self-augmenting. Yeah. You just allow it. It becomes just like the ocean. So we're ready to come in for a landing, and just want us to look at the faces here without any words for a moment. And just feel some energy in your hands now, in my hands, and unmute yourself, and whatever words that are your own want to come. Right now, I'm feeling like, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you.
Thank you for being
Yes.
here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm here with you. Thank
I'm
you.
here with
Yeah.
you.
I am.
I'm
Wow.
here with you.
Yeah.
I'm here with
I'm
you
feeling the pleasure.
I'm here in
Yeah.
truth, in
In
goodness
truth.
and pleasure.
Yeah.
Yes.
In truth, indeed. Wow.
Yes to our lives. Yes.
Yes.
Wow. Heaven is here right now. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, everybody.
Mm.
And if anybody wants to stick around, we'll have a few minutes of just landing without the form of our meeting together. Coffee and donuts.